All right, so my name's Ryan Fogelman. I'm one of the founders of COHatch. I'm here with Chad Justin, who is the founder of CHVD Justin. Am I saying that correctly?
Chad Justin.
Well, what's the CHVD mean?
So the V is just a creative spin I put on it in college. So it's Chad Justin, but a V instead of the A.
Right, and I mean, I hope I know you well enough to know your name at this point, but I do believe that, you have a very unique personality. So, I think the goal, and I think more of the hardest thing for me as running our Boost scholarships, right, and we've been doing this now for 8.5 years, is that we have so much, building a community takes so many different levels that it's very hard to explain what we do. So I think, there's the Boost Scholarship and the Give Scholarship. For those of you guys who don't know, we basically give scholarships to certain individuals that we feel have the passion to start a new business, to do the things. I mean, everybody knows I'm literally pure capitalist, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you've met me a million times to know this. And it's like, the reality is we built 50 businesses indirectly and directly through our programs, right? And I was literally trying to share the story, and then I got an email from you saying, hey, I want to get back to the Boost Scholarship. And I was like, oh, Chad would be good. Okay, so let's talk about your story, right? You started at Ohio State. I mean, I'll let you in your words basically say, how did our relationship start? Ours being COHatch, and I mean, obviously myself as well. And what do you think you've gotten from it?
And since we're in Columbus, I will have to say the Ohio State University.
And that's fine. I went to Michigan State, so I'm a Spartan, and I went to Case Western, right?
Yeah.
So my Spartan is blue, green, and done. So feel free. I do. Ohio State's great.
But to just, I guess, recap it. So my senior year after graduating Ohio State, I had done some work with the digital flagship that was hosted within the COHatch Gateway campus.
Right.
So that's kind of how I got affiliated. And after going there a couple of times, I met the COHatch manager. I believe her name was Hannah.
Yep, Hannah Alford.
And then after meeting Hannah, I saw the Boost Scholarship opportunity, and then essentially went out, applied for it, and it was huge for us because we got the Boost Scholarship and we were able to start working out of the COHatch at Gateway. And at first, I'll be 100% honest, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. Even prior to meeting Hannah, I actually met someone, his name is JD, and he is one of the partners at Carmen Ventures. And kind of through that connection, being introduced to Hannah, meeting her, we were able to come there. And I actually was really able to work with JD and the team at Carmen Ventures, just coming there, showing up in the morning, and them actually first explaining to me venture capital. I will be honest, every entrepreneur hears about fundraising, but I didn't know much about it, so I got to learn about just venture capital funds and even test that with my own product. So just back to my dorm room story, I invented the innovation of the backpack called the WearPack. Learn how to use a sewing machine, use the campus job to create the different stuff, process and manufacturing. We submitted intellectual property. And then after kind of scaling and testing the licensing play, we were able to pick up some university licenses like the Ohio State University. So after working with Carmen Ventures, I was able to figure out a form of scaling strategy that could potentially be venture-backed, right?
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's hard to build venture-backed consumer product businesses. And based on the information I received, I was actually to see that for myself. And then I met Ryan,
So that's funny, right? Because the story is, from my side of it, is that I met you down there and you're like, my rent is gone.
Yeah.
I have this dorm room that I just moved out of, and you show me a picture, which we'll share, we'll share that obviously. That picture's amazing, right? It's Chad in his dorm room basically with designs everywhere, really doing it. And again, it's funny because you say venture backed, and I mean, really, Matt and I, our big belief in COHatch and Boost scholarships is it's not that we don't want to help the venture back, but there's so many programs out there that are set up to help students learn how to do venture backed, ventures, right? And again, from my side of it, it's the brass tacks, right? So I'm sure any advice that I gave you was, how do you make money in 90 days, right? And I think that's that's kind of when I walked in and I think I saw you there and we started talking,
So it really went on those goals, and that's the beauty in COHatch. It's so many diverse personalities and people. I got the venture capital knowledge, But then I ran into one of the co-founders that immediately took the time to actually sit down, talk to me.
The co-founder being me?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
And his like experience with consumer product brands. And the first thing he told me is, dude, social media, I was shooting stuff on my phone, launching this, we got 1 million views. And it really instilled in me that entrepreneurship is really about testing and just doing it, right? Like, hey man, let's stop talking about this. You gotta make rent, you gotta do this. What are the steps to actually achieving that? So we had to figure out organic social media strategies, how even to produce an organic sale. And I will say now, it took me about 2 years, but now I know how to get organic sales. Like, if there's one thing I know how to do is how to get organic sales.
Now, if you had to show someone exactly how to do that, you probably couldn't write it down, right?
No.
Like, I mean,
now
it's like,
I'll probably end up sounding like Ryan. Hey man, do this, and now I understand it was right.
And again, it's strategical, right? Like that's what, I mean, that's my word, but basically the reality is like, you can talk about the business and say that you're gonna build this thing, but in the reality, you gotta go do, right? And like, you know, did you ever use the hub to sell your product?
So we tested it out in a couple of different forms.
Yeah.
So we got the opportunity to upload on it, but that was the experience of, wait, how to get these direct-to-consumer collaborations to actually work. So didn't really have the knowledge to build upon it, but that's the whole thing. You get these principles and you got to take the time to learn how to do it. So I think the next stage for us will be is to successfully launch on the hub, and it just gives us a broader platform. Even now, I didn't really understand that. Sometimes when you just get your product on a platform that a ton of people can view it, it's huge. Organic sales. Like
100%.
At that time, I didn't get it, but now, of course, I understand. And I think it grew into so many things. Even outside of that, I met deal flow partners, right? We started doing business to business sales. Oh, we can create custom WearPacks and collaboration branded products.
Who's the deal flow partners? Is that's what you call a group of your consumers?
Not necessarily deal flow partners, but just there, I met someone named Sean Crow.
And when you say there, you're talking about Ohio, because you ended up moving from, because you were at Ohio State campus. Again, you had access to all of our locations. I assume you use more than one, but so you ended up moving to Cleveland, and then tell us about that.
So my move to Cleveland was just basically, it actually happened after a COhatch Boost pitch competition. So not only were there all these resources, but then there was literally an opportunity to receive capital and different things like that. And it was my first time
ever doing a pitch?
Doing a pitch at that level. That was actually real, in front of people with other businesses, right?
And it was practice. I mean, it was great. I mean, you did a good job.
It was practice, but it also showed me, wow, man, you can have good ideas, but if you can't articulate them, if you're nervous, you could lose out on an opportunity that could change. So that pitch competition, me preparing for that, was pivotal in my transition to coming to Cleveland. And right when I came to Cleveland, guess what? Two COhatch locations that I had immediate access to. To build a network.
So which is Beechwood and Ohio City.
Beechwood and Ohio City. So immediately getting there, I met another COhatch person, Christian Bryant. You know, he was an Ohio State guy, met him, got his feedback on different things, and I was able to be connected to a different world of people. But it just kind of shows that with that COhatch community, you can go anywhere and find, you know, if we are looking for other businesses, other relationships. One of our kind of biggest clients, you know, actually was a COhatch member. Just an organization that was there, built a great relationship.
Are you allowed to say the organization?
So it was the Cleveland President's Council. So they have their office in the Ohio City location. And then from that point, I applied to 2 pitch competitions in Cleveland. The Futureland pitch competition and Cleveland Chain Reaction. And guess which decks I got to use? The one from COhatch's pitch competition.
Nice. So that it was a start of it.
And everything that I felt, man, Chad, you did this horribly. You didn't do this. I made sure to correct it, and boom, I was well polished. I was ready for that opportunity in the other businesses, and I was able to win 2 pitch competitions for nearly $40,000 in capital.
I mean, and think about it, right? $40,000 is like, I mean, one of the big reasons why we do the Boost Scholarship is because the reality is that you're paying, I mean, your biggest waste is rent, right? Like, I mean, you could do this in your garage. And the same thing when we do give scholarships, there's a lot of nonprofits that we build, and a nonprofit is the same thing as a for-profit business, right? Except they actually have it worse than most, Boost Scholars, because, the reality is that, they actually have a board of directors, and they're not paid to take risks, where your job is to take risks, right? So the reality is you go in and you raise money, and this becomes, I mean, 40 grand for a startup business.
It's huge.
It was huge for you.
Especially if you have a proper capital access plan. That's why I appreciated the lessons and the mentorship, because half the times we want money, but do you actually know how to get an ROI on that, a return on investment? So I think everything happened at the right place. And then that set me up to build additional relationships within the COhatch community that led the way to greater things. I was able to meet, numerous people that I've built relationships with that have grown. It showed me the value of relationships. And that's a part that I think a lot of young entrepreneurs, since we haven't done much and we don't understand that building relationships with people in the industry and different stuff can open doors. You might not even need an investment, because they can bring the deal flow that, hey man, you just profited.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Well, and that's why we have 8,000 members across 5 states, right? So again, I mean, it's not to your point, you don't solicit the members, but like by the fact that you're here and you're seeking it out, right? And the right people are around you, that's what drives it, right? I mean, because the one thing I want to make clear is that the Boost Scholarship doesn't come with a program, right? No. We're not trained. Like, the reality is the program is you figure out what you need to do, what resources you need for your business, and you seek that, right? And again, so you did that better than, again, I mean, I'd say there's 50 other people who have done it in a sense. You've done it in a pretty amazing way with a startup company that I think, again, you can talk us through, the success and the I don't want to say failures yet, because there's always obstacles, right? So I'd say obstacles, right?
And the last piece, though, is to just harp on the community aspect. And this is part that's forgotten. So I built a community there were so many just hidden private equity investors, and just investors you would never know that are in this COhatch sphere, that are just coming to a cool place. But it builds a relationship when people see you every day. When people see you there every day at 7:30 a.m., 8 a.m. working, you're a part of a community of people literally seeing you do this. And I never realized how big that was. Our angel investor that we actually met at the Ohio City COhatch, we built a relationship because it was probably 2 to 3 weeks. He saw me at one of the pitch competitions and us winning, didn't say anything about it, but saw me at the COhatch every day at 8 a.m.
Right.
Just
I mean, just every day he's working. You don't know what he's working on. You don't know what you're working on. But at the end
I
of the day,
didn't know he knew me. I didn't know he saw it, but he saw me every day. And we just happened to end up bumping in, having a conversation. Heard he had moved from, Silicon Valley to make a bigger impact here. Heard the business, dude, this is awesome. I finally was able to build a different structure. It came with a lot of critiques.
Yeah.
And it didn't start off as, hey, I want an investment. That's not where it started. Hey, I need help with this. I'm trying to figure out how to make this happen this way. And after I was able to make the optimizers and changes, he was like, you know what? I want to get.
Yeah. Well, and I think anybody who's gonna give you seed capital or angel funding, right? I mean, the reality is they're not looking at your business as much as they're looking at you.
Exactly.
Right. So they want to get to know you, right? And that's the reality. It's so I think when you're looking at this, he met with you, he talked to you, he felt comfortable with you. It wasn't like you solicited him. It was more of hey, we just happen to be working together and engineered chaos.
Explain the problems that I was facing.
Did I say it wrong? Engineered chaos? Yeah. Yeah. Engineer what? Yeah, I hate that. I'm not even saying it.
And then you just explain problems, and you never know where people are at in their life. And he just happened to be at the point that, man, anything that's going to scale and help this community, I want to invest in. You just happen to build a relationship with someone in that space. I've noticed that some people are like, man, I know who could be your biggest client. You never know. Or, dude, you actually need this form of advice, and this dude will take your stuff to the next level. I started to recognize the value of actually human capital. Talented people that can take you places you've never been. And even through that lead angel from COhatch, he actually led us to our second angel, who gave us the main seed investment, and our first headquarters warehouse space to do some we needed more logistical and distribution support as the units increased. So that just marinated there. I never would have imagined that one relationship turned to another relationship.
Sure.
That, transformed things, and to the point that now I just feel in that hub, we've literally built a community. The COhatch literally draws entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because the reality is that like it's not that we're going out like looking for it, but I mean the same type of people, we attract the same type of people,
yeah.
right? I mean, and again, there's a different person for everybody,
yeah.
right? And that's the reality. You're talking about 8,000 people, right? Mm-hmm. So like, Chad went out of his way, right? And figured this stuff out by asking a lot of advice. And, again, I think that's the best way to start anything, which is, like you said, that you took critiques. Well, yeah, you're like, that hurts some people and nobody wants to hear it, but guess what? Being an entrepreneur, like, honestly, that's all you get is critiquing, mm-hmm. right? No one ever says nice work until you sell. And at that point, right, everybody needs to ring the bell. Like, I mean, don't we all want to? I mean,
it's like you have to build that thick skin, but I had to understand it as, this is my MBA, right? Just a lot of information and you have to figure out how to distribute it. And the funniest thing, and this might hurt some entrepreneurs or, fundraisers now, or even understanding how to raise capital, right? Does your business actually match the capital that you want to raise? These were some hard questions that I had to deal with, right?
100%. Well, you're like, so what do I need money for?
Yeah.
Right? And at the end of the day, I mean,
you can't.
You're sitting down and you're saying, okay, so your product's a WearPack, right? Yeah. So, and again, feel free to share it and show it. And, I mean, we have one sitting up here, but I mean, the reality is that, you look at the business and you have to say to yourself, right, like, is it direct consumer? Yeah. Is this a branding play, a licensing play? Is this, there's so many ways that you can go down. And the one thing I do know is that when you start your journey, you never end up where you thought you were going to start.
Exactly.
Right?
So I thought it was going to be something completely different, but in the due diligence process of actually figuring out, and I hate to say this because sometimes when people say, show me the money, or where is the profit margin or the margins here, or where's the business at? That's not people saying that, dude, it sucks, it's not gonna work. That's like, this is a business. You gotta prove the growth point. So I had to start getting deals, right? Closing deals and asking for feedback and figuring out what is the most scalable feature of my business, right? Because that's what you're selling to
with the lowest burn rate.
With the lowest burn rate, because at the end of the day, guys, although your investors want to help you, they're not here to pay your rent.
Right. Well, and again, I think that's interesting, right? So I think the reality, especially with consumer products, and obviously through Stick Grip, I've had a lot of experience with that. And I mean, from a social media perspective, like, I don't know what's viral, but I know it when I see it, right? Mm-hmm. And like, so that's where, when I said to you, we have 1 billion views for frickin' Stick Grip at the time, like I knew why it was viral, but I didn't understand how that was going to turn into, X amount of business, which actually turned out to be our biggest line of business, where, again, from the very beginning, we're going through retail, right? We would never even go through direct consumer. And then all of a sudden it's like, oops, so you know what? I woke up one day and I'm like, I was wrong, right? Now it's time to go down this other path. So, I mean, how many times has that happened to you in the past 5 years? Is it 5 years?
5 years.
It's been 5 years.
Like, it's been ridiculous, but then I realized that that's the take of good entrepreneurs. How fast can you transform your plan or things based on good, credible advice? How, right?
That's, so important.
I heard that university or school says, well, we have a need for this in listening to your customers, right? Oh, we have a need for this. This is the basic budget. Now test it. And if that works, now that's the market, right?
Well, and if that works, you run with that until it might not work. And then, so that's really the process of all this.
Constant optimizations, constant getting it better. And it takes some time for sure. But I've learned, if I knew what I knew now, back then, it probably would have took me quicker. Sometimes it's not to say it's hard.
No, and that's where, again, you're 25 years old, right? Now, I'm not saying that in a negative way at all, but like, to me, the most important thing that anyone needs to have, and obviously you need to have smarts, and clearly you need to be a salesperson, right? Like if you're going to go start your business as an entrepreneur, you need to sell yourself, your business, and you actually have to sell products, right? Especially if you're a CP product. Right, like so you have that, but like so think you've had 5 years. Like where do you see this business going, or where do you see yourself kind of in 10 years? And again, like at a high level, right?
So yeah, at a high level, I truly believe that Chad Justin can be a very large, scalable, active lifestyle brand. I feel like it can reach great heights, $1 million heights. I feel that the WearPack itself, on a broader scale, can be a very large, multi-million dollar, $100 million product. I think in terms of me myself, I think that I want to catch these visions, and I probably will be working with the WearPack with Chad Justin for the next 5 to 10 years. At the same time, I do believe, and we won't say anything yet, that there will be other opportunities, other verticals. I'm at the stage now where I'm meeting just great founders, right? And I kind of got it from you, and I never mentioned this, but the fact that you have a lot of key roles in a lot of startups. And I realized, like, dang, I might be at that position one time that people reach out to me to have key roles in other startups. So I do see myself as being just a serial entrepreneur in these.
Yeah, no, and I mean, obviously that means a lot to me, but like at the same time, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, this is really what we're trying to do, right? Like, and it's not, I mean, if you look at the Boost Scholarship and the Give Scholarship, like, ideally, you're successful and now you're not even a COhatch member. I know you're a member, but like, you're going to a fulfillment warehouse, right? Like, so I'm not trying to grow seeds of, of new customers for us down the road, right? The reality is that this is for you guys, right? And it's for our communities and it's for our place. Like, I want to make sure that if you are passionate and you can get up every morning and you can learn, I mean, you're 25 years old. If I would have done what you did, I didn't even get out of school, I was 27 years old. So if I would have done what you did, right, started that much earlier, I'm sure I would have. I mean, I'm 48 years, and again, I've had failures and I've had, I've had the gamut, right? And the one thing I will tell you that I appreciate is that you don't talk about the exit, right? And most like founders will always talk about the exit. And so to me, like number one, you have to enjoy your journey. It's overnight successes take years, right? But like the reality is that you seem to enjoy the ride, right? And that's really the most important.
Yeah, so that,
I mean, you on a daily basis, you like what you're doing?
I absolutely love it, and that's the thing.
Awesome.
Even I'm talking to cool people here. This is my day, right? And
like I appreciate that, but again, you're the one doing all the, you're killing it. I mean, and that's where, like.
It's the relationships too, but I've enjoyed, and that's why great teams and great people are so important, right? Because you enjoy being around them. So now I just feel so much like, man, and even my investors, amazing people with great success that they've done as well. And the fact that I've been able to build this team, it makes me love it even more of why I want to work hard, why I want to hit these goals as well. So I think important to any entrepreneur, true passion. And I just really love like this ability. We even have our social impact inside where we're working with organizations to fundraise, right? Yeah. Working with schools to inspire students. So it's just like.
Well, and again, I think that's a good, like, that, I mean, you want to give back, right? And I think that's important. And, I do talk to a lot of founders who, they always say to me that they want to exit a business and then they want to go do something that changes the world. Yeah. And the reality is that like, I mean, I've been building businesses like Fire Rover and Stick Grip and like, other businesses. And, again, I think most importantly for me is that COhatch has allowed me to do the same thing that it's allowed you to do, right? Which is why I can give you advice, which is why I can sit down with all these guys and basically have these conversations and really understand where you guys are, because I get how painful it is, right? I was there, I mean, I've been there so many times I can't even tell you. And like being an entrepreneur is the loneliest, and it's great when things are good, right? So I guess the question is really like, if you had to start it over again, or if you had advice for an entrepreneur, what would you say to them? And I mean,
don't be afraid. Don't be afraid about doing things that might seem difficult or ridiculous, because it's going to take time, and that's okay. Right. When
you say ridiculous, you're talking about like the public looking at you, and because you're taking these critiques, and you can't, you'd be stymied if someone said to you, like if you listen to all these critiques and you didn't have a thick skin, but you also have to know which ones are the right ones to listen to.
So you have to be open to that, but also just understanding what it's going to take regardless. I got some of the best advice. Hey, it's going to take 5 to 10 years anyway to reach this level, or 3 to 5 years is a normal time to become profitable anyway. So you have to come with it in the mindset that I want to be a part of this for this period, and also aligning it with things you actually enjoy and actually like. If you align something with something that you have passion for, you enjoy it, you like it, plus you understanding what you're getting into and chasing a goal that you actually want to see, right? I think that's the main thing, because if you kind of underachieve or underthink of what you want to do, well, man, I'm not even chasing what I actually want to do. I'm not even solving the problem I actually want to solve, right? If you really have a value proposition and you truly believe that you're solving a problem, like with the WearPack, I truly believe that we're innovating the backpack.
Yeah, and from my perspective, you built this as a way to have a clear path so you could walk into a football game.
Yeah.
And because there's a lot of colleges that are now requiring this, right? So that's really your big
a versatile bag for that multi-platform, active stadium use, right? Outdoors use, really transforming that into just a great innovative bag product. Transform the industry. Like with our Cleveland Marathon collaboration now, they're using our WearPack minis as running bags for the marathon.
I love that, right? I mean, it's like you're finding like a new use, a new occupancy, a new something, right, that turns it into. So let me ask this question, like, are you still living out of your car?
No. And it's crazy to think about.
Right? No, I mean, when I first met you, right, you were you were like, I don't know that I have rent. And honestly, like one of the things that impressed me was you're like, yeah, I mean, if I got to live out of my car, I'll just work at COhatch, I'll get my stuff. But again, like, do you now have a bed? Do you now have like, I mean, have you been able to like give yourself some stability in this entrepreneurial lifestyle?
I'll be honest, I'm so caught up in it. That's the time where I actually have to sit back and realize, like, I'm honestly blessed, because now, I mean, I live in downtown Cleveland at a nice place. Like,
so you pay rent now every month, and like, I'm not joking. Like, I'm kind of kidding, but at the same time, you're going down this entrepreneurial business journey, and like.
So now it's self-sufficient.
It's self-sustaining. Yeah. So you've hit, after 36 months, 48 months, you've hit. So now that you're paying yourself a salary, you're feeling better, right? Like, you know, I assume, you know, you have like a nice place that you're taking, you know, like, and again.
It's interesting. And honestly, I'm finding the thing of even once you get a salary in your business, now that I know my cash budget analysis, you know, I'm still okay with these things now that I have my compartmental or my, you know, necessarily life able to sustain.
Yeah.
I still want to be smart and in that entrepreneurial sector. So this is the other thing for, you know, first or second time founders. After you do raise, you don't want to really change your lifestyle that much.
You can't. You can't afford to.
You can't. So that was, even in me saying that I have an apartment now or have these things, I'm not saying that I splurge.
Well, you deserve to have an apartment, and
exactly.
You deserve to have, like, I understand you didn't splurge, but like, the reality is you have to be a good, you know, the bearer of this, you know, because you're now getting other people's capital. So,
yes.
I mean, when did that start? Like, how long ago?
So, closed around, it's about 5 months now.
Okay, so it's been 5 months. So this is relatively new.
Yeah.
And again, when you look at your journey, it actually makes sense when you got it, as far as like, you know, looking back, right?
No,
I mean, you get it too early and you don't know what you're going to spend.
I was not ready for it. Like, once it actually happened, I truly realized that I know what lesson I needed to learn.
So can I ask one question? Did you give away any equity in the beginning?
No, so I've been able, due to me being able to bootstrap it and really figure out how to become cash flow positive, still retain a very large share.
Well, and again, the reason I say that, I mean, because, you know, this is always something that I talk to early entrepreneurs about, because, you know, the reality, it's real easy to give away equity in the beginning when you're like, oh, I need this developer for software, or I need this, and, you know, but then it always ends up biting you in the butt, right?
Always.
And you know, I can tell you with COhatch, we've gone out of our way, and Fire Rover, same thing. Like, I mean, we have gone out of our way to build a solid foundation, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't sleep at night if I'm not paying my bills.
Yeah.
So the reality is, if I'm not paying my bills, I better be taking a big risk that's calculated enough that I know what I'm doing, right? Or at least know enough of what I'm doing. So at this point now, you've taken money, you're 5 years down the road, you feel like, you know, you're, you know, obviously from a tactical perspective now, you probably are more strategic than you were tactical, where at the beginning, I think you're, again, it's just
we're all over the place.
Trying to figure it out. So, all right, so now that you have fiscal responsibility and you have investors, right?
Yeah.
So what have you changed? What do you see being different?
Now that I've changed now is learning how to manage expectations, right? You can't be young startups, oh, we're gonna make $1 million and da-da-da. You can't do that. You have to realistically manage investors' expectations, right? Like, hey, we have these processes in place, and this is the guideline, and this is how we'll reach that. And setting realistic goals based on where you're at. I've noticed that I had to set realistic plans to my investors to make them understand what I was doing and put in the work to succeed on those. It's about execution. Once you're there, understand they invested in you because they believe that you can execute. So there were times where I had to focus, separate different things, and lead the company where we needed to go. And that was one of the biggest things there. You manage your investors' expectations by being transparent, but actually doing the necessary steps and following the plans that you gave, right?
100%.
We gave you a plan, a growth plan. We have to follow that and execute on that plan and do the necessary steps that's needed and be able to answer questions. Hey, we didn't hit the break-even analysis. And give a plan of improvement. You have to take that, right? Like,
100%.
So that was one of the main things, understanding this opportunity, managing the expectations, and now putting in the necessary work that's needed. And being open, hey, if I need this person that can take us here, having that conversation. If they will take us to that next place that allows me to succeed in what I told my investors, I have to strongly consider those things. So I think that's the main thing now. It's not necessarily just about you, right? You have a team, a core unit that you've all set goals, and now they're trusting you to lead to those goals. So I think, if in a nutshell, it really just comes down to those basics.
Well, yeah, and I think, I know you had mentioned that you had built a community of your own, right? And again, when I say that, everyone has their own personal community, right? And we're all part of each other's. But so, like that group that you had met of entrepreneurs in Ohio City, are you still talking to them? You're still working with them?
So we've still worked, we still network. They've turned into, we perhaps got some large deals just through introductions and things of that circle. Some of them have been brought onto the team, in different capacities that, Chad, I love what you're doing. You need help, this, and that. And I've always been the type that, man, you just told me something I didn't know. You just taught me. You're clearly smarter than me. Can you help me? I'm just at that site now.
You say that, you're like, you're clearly smarter. You say that to everybody. Like,
I'm starting to meet people that
smart,
are
right?
literally, they understand something way better. So I'm like, dude, I'm okay with you telling me that.
Yeah, no, bring on an expert, right? You're like, I don't know everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, apparently, right? That's awesome.
So I think those are kind of things with building that community and being open for feedback. Like, everyone wants a community in which their voice is heard, right?
100%.
So if they know that, man, this dude, great relationship, he listens, I feel like that's key.
100%. Okay. And so for the Boost Scholarship, if you were talking to a Boost Scholar today, right, brand new guy walking in, what would your advice be?
Take the most use out of this as possible. Do not take this for granted. And be an entrepreneur, be a networker, be social. Come and talk to people, right? You have to get over those barriers. And I guarantee every COHatch you go to, you talk to everyone. If you're an entrepreneur, promise you're going to be in a different position. Well,
and I think that's great. I mean, there's some amazing entrepreneurs that come out of here, right? And again, it's not like COHatch didn't create them, right? Like, again, it's just that we're working within our own spaces with the community that we have around us, and you can kind of make your own community. So the reality, have you brought people in that you've known from others, or and again, I don't mean that from a sales perspective, I mean more of a networking perspective.
No, yes. Well, now that I've been able to talk to people and, hey, come meet me at COHatch, we've brought various members and different stuff just because, man, this is a great place. Man, I've seen how this worked for you, and now they want to join. I mean, I'm only telling them the experience that I've had, right?
Well, and that's where, it's humbling to me, I can tell you, because like when Matt and I built these in the beginning, right? And again, our other partners do a lot of our building and our, reactivation and all these other things. They do amazing things, but really the boost, give, and like the culture has always been stuff that we've worked on and taken, and I didn't know whether the Boost Scholarship was going to work. We didn't know whether so I do appreciate you telling me like, hey, we think it worked, right? That's good.
No, that's why specifically I reached out, because I'm like, like, yo, this is real, and I want other entrepreneurs to know about this. This actually did help me. I'm not making up blanketed statements. From this direct ecosystem. It really gave us the, stability and network we needed. So always, very open and honest when I'm talking to people about COhatch.
Well, and the good, bad, and ugly, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, nothing's easy, and it's like if you're not doing it yourself, like, again, the reason I'm impressed with you is because you literally worked out of your car, right? Like, I mean, you think about it, that's what an entrepreneur does, right? I mean, there's no entrepreneur that doesn't have a story of some sort of a
Struggling.
Yeah, struggling. Because if you didn't struggle to become an entrepreneur, I don't, like, I guess to me is, that's part of it.
You really build the almost gusto. That might be the wrong word.
Well, your character, your gusto, 100%, right? You're building, like, this is when you know whether or not you're looking in the mirror and you're going, am I going to succeed or am I going to fail?
Yeah.
And, what do you tell yourself every morning?
And that's the inspiring piece to the team, because they're seeing you actually do the things, right? And I guess to add on now, we can talk about, a way in which, we're trying to help give back and support aligned communities with the COhatch system. And COhatch has another amazing organization that they're working with called Star House.
100%. Yeah.
And
so you want to share, so basically, I mean, Star House is, it's an amazing organization that helps homeless youth.
Yeah.
And, we've made a huge commitment. I mean, a big thing that we're doing for the Give Scholarships is that for, Give Scholars, they really do have a hard situation trying to raise money, because the reality is that they usually have a board that doesn't want them to take risks. And again, Dave Anderson and you guys work together with Star House to create a WearPack, which I think is amazing. So what are you doing with this?
So we created a Star House WearPack as a way that we can really give back and support, Star House and help them to reach their goal. So our goal is that we sell enough WearPacks in which their percentage will actually build one of the Star House community houses.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
Kind of using our innovative product, almost incubated through the COhatch system to now, support another COhatch brand and impact the community. Get a homeless person out of the streets, like, honestly. Not working from their car.
Well, you weren't homeless, but, like you had places to go.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
But again, so when I say that, I mean, maybe, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to get a headline, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like, entrepreneur works from car and starts $1 billion business, right? So
It's a great headline.
One day we'll see it. Awesome, dude. I appreciate it.